So on problem number 1 of the independent study on exponents, we're focusing on negative exponents. And hopefully this is a review of things that you've seen before. But either way, I think that you'll find that it's pretty easy once you see what's going on. So the instructions here say 3 units of time that are smaller than seconds are milliseconds, microseconds, and nanoseconds. And they want us to complete each statement to determine the number of seconds there are in 100 milliseconds. Okay, so notice it's just a multiplication problem. We know there's 1,000 milliseconds in 1 second. So we set this up as a ratio, and the milliseconds cancel. You just multiply across, and remember the denominator here is 1. So you're doing 100 times 1 equals 100, and 1 times 1,000 equals 1,000. And now you're going to go ahead and simplify. And simplifying when you just have zeros is pretty easy, right? Basically, 100 goes into 100 once, and 100 goes into 1,000 10 times. So what we have is 1 over 10 seconds. So the number of seconds there are in 100 milliseconds, there's 1/10 of a second. Okay, so I'm going to do B at the same time. Basically, again, this is just multiplying straight across. So 10 over 1, 10 times 1 is 10. 1 times 1,000 is 1,000. And then if we reduce, 10 goes into both of these numbers, so 10 goes into 10 once, 10 goes into 1,000 100 times. So there's only 1/100th of a second in 10 milliseconds. So you should be able to do C by yourself at this point. Just a reduction. This is more practice on fractions. And then here at the bottom, they're just reminding you of a rule that we went over in class, where if you are dividing, if you have something, a base to an exponent and the same base to a different exponent, you can simplify by keeping the base the same and subtracting the exponents. So that's just a reminder of that rule that we went over in class. So for the second part of problem number 2, this says show how you can use powers of 10 to write your answers from question 1 as a quotient of powers and then as a single power. So here, we just wrote these as straight numbers, right? But they want us to write it as powers. So notice these match 100 over 1,000, 10 over 1,000, right? So they want us to rewrite these as powers of 10. That means 10 to a certain power over 10 to a certain power. So 10, what power can we raise 10 to make it 100? Well, 10 squared, because 10 times 10 is 100. And what about 10 to what power equals 1,000? 10 to the third. So when they say write it as a power, they mean base of 10 and then an exponent. So 100 over 1,000 is the same thing as 10 squared over 10 to the third. But now they want us to also write it as a single power. So this is a quotient of powers. Quotient means divide. But a single power means they want us to combine these so they just have one base and one exponent. So here, over here, they're reminding us when you divide powers with the same base, you keep the base and subtract the exponents. So let's try that rule. She's just saying in words what was said right here in math symbols. You keep the base and subtract the exponents. So let's try that rule. Keep the base, 10, but subtract the exponents, 2 minus 3. Now 2 minus 3 is actually -1. So this is the same as this, which is the same as this, which is the same as this. So we've now written in 4 different ways, using exponents, reducing fractions, 4 different ways. So let's try it again. Write this as a quotient of powers. So 10 to the what power is 10? 10 to the first power. 10 to the what power is 1,000? 10 to the third power. Now we want, that's a quotient of powers because we're dividing. Now we want a single power, so that means keep the base the same, subtract the exponents. 1 minus 3 is -2. So at this point, again, we wrote this in 4 different ways, as 10 over 1,000, as 10 to the first over 10 to the third, as 10 to the -2, and right here as 1 over 100, right? 4 different ways we wrote this. So you should be able to do C on your own. And then here it's asking you to explain how you can write a power with a negative exponent as a power with a positive exponent. So just as a reminder, that there's a clue in this, right? When we said that this is the same thing as 1 over 10, and this is the same thing as 1 over 100, right? Because of right here. And 1 over 100 is 1 over 10 squared. So I want you to think about that. This is like 1 over 10 to the first. 10 to the -1 is the same as 1 over 10 to the +1. 10 to the -2 is the same thing as 1 over 10 to the +2. So I want you to try this on your own. How can you write a power with a negative exponent as a power with a positive exponent? What do you have to do to make that negative exponent a positive exponent and keep things equal? So that, go ahead and fill out on your own in words.